Beyond the Deck presents Guide to Death. Death is the 14th card in the major arcana of a tarot deck. It is typically illustrated as a solemn figure, often a skeletal rider in dark armor, moving steadily across a quiet landscape, sometimes beneath a rising sun. Around it, kings kneel, flowers bloom, and distant horizons glow with subtle promise. This card represents endings, transformation, and the profound renewal that emerges through necessary release. Symbols often include the skeletal form, the stripping away of illusion, the white rose or flower, purity within change, the rising sun, rebirth and continuation, and figures of different status bowing before it, the universality of transition. Together, they portray the inevitability of cycles, death and rebirth, closure and beginning, decay and regeneration. The card evokes a sense of passage rather than finality, a threshold between what has been and what is yet to come. Progress here comes not through resistance, but through acceptance of what must fall away. Death reminds us that transformation is rarely comfortable, yet it is always purposeful. Death embodies endings, rebirth, and deep metamorphosis, inviting courage to release the old, trust in unseen renewal, and faith that every conclusion carries within it the quiet seed of new life waiting to rise. Endings. Death stands as the sacred threshold of endings, the quiet inevitability that clears space for all things to renew. It is not the ending of annihilation or despair, but of transition, the profound intelligence of life that knows when a chapter has fulfilled its purpose and must gently close. Here, we are reminded that not all growth comes through accumulation, that some truths reveal themselves only through release. Death does not rush nor destroy. It concludes, allowing what has outlived its time to fall away with dignity, reshaping the soul through acceptance rather than clinging. Its sacred essence lives in the understanding that endings are necessary, that transformation is born from letting go, and that renewal cannot occur without closure. Even in loss, there is meaning, and within finality, an invitation to begin again. Death is the turning hinge of the journey, the ending that reorders becoming. It is the reminder that endings make way for rebirth, that closure creates continuity, and that every ending is not a disappearance, but a passage into new life within the eternal rhythm of change. Rebirth. Rebirth is the quiet promise that follows every ending, the gentle renewal that begins once something has been released. It is not sudden or dramatic, but subtle and steady, life reshaping itself after loss. Rebirth reminds us that not all beginnings are loud or certain. Some arrive softly, emerging from the space left behind when the old has fallen away. It asks for patience and trust, teaching that renewal comes through integration, not force. There is tenderness in rebirth. It unfolds through healing, reflection, and quiet courage. The first breath after grief, the first movement after stillness. At its core, rebirth carries a simple truth. Every ending creates space for new life. Nothing truly ends. It transforms, inviting the soul to rise again, wiser and more aligned within the rhythm of becoming. Deep metamorphosis. Deep metamorphosis is the unseen transformation that occurs beneath the surface, where change reshapes the soul before it ever becomes visible. It is not a moment, but a process, slow, intimate, and irreversible. This is the kind of change that dissolves old identities, beliefs, and patterns at their root. It does not ask permission, nor does it allow return to what once was. Deep metamorphosis asks for surrender, for trust in the unknown, and for the courage to let the former self fall away. It unfolds in darkness, in uncertainty, in spaces where clarity has not yet arrived. Yet within that darkness, something essential is being reformed. When deep metamorphosis completes its work, What emerges is not a repaired version of the past, but a truer expression of being, aligned, renewed, and ready to live from a deeper truth within the rhythm of becoming. Death speaks to the quiet rhythm of profound change, the deep unraveling and renewal that arises through endings, release, and acceptance. It reminds us that life is not always meant to be preserved as it is, but sometimes honored by allowing what is finished to fall away. This card teaches that transformation does not come through resistance, but through letting go, through trusting that endings are meaningful, and that renewal begins when attachment loosens. Death concludes rather than destroys, offering wisdom through closure, honesty, and necessary release. To walk with death is to choose acceptance over fear, to recognize that not all change feels gentle, and that growth often begins where certainty ends. It is an invitation to release old identities, to stand at the threshold of the unknown, and to allow the past to complete its cycle. Through this ending, life reorganizes and truth clarifies, each release creating space for renewal, each closure drawing us closer to the deeper truth of who we are becoming. Keywords. Upright keywords. Endings: transformation, release, renewal, closure, rebirth, transition, deep change, letting go, metamorphosis, cycles of life. Reverse keywords: resistance to change, fear of endings, stagnation, clinging to the past, delayed transformation, denial, avoidance, blocked renewal, unresolved attachments, inability to let go. Meanings of symbols and colors on death. 1. The skeletal figure represents the stripping away of illusion, the bare truth beneath identity and status. It symbolizes inevitability and the natural cycle of life and death. 2. The white rose represents purity within transformation and the promise of renewal. It symbolizes that even in endings, there is innocence, beauty, and new life emerging. 3. The black armor represents protection and emotional detachment. It symbolizes the impartial, unstoppable force of change that moves forward without cruelty or favor. 4. The fallen king represents the collapse of ego, power, and worldly status. It symbolizes that death and transformation come equally to all, regardless of position. 5. The rising sun represents rebirth and continuation. It symbolizes hope on the horizon and the certainty that every ending carries a new beginning within it. 6. The river or flowing water represents the ongoing current of life. It symbolizes that change is constant and transformation is part of the greater rhythm of existence. Black endings, mystery, the unknown, white purity, truth, rebirth. Yellow illumination, hope, awareness, green regeneration, growth, renewal. Death is a powerful symbol of endings, release, and profound transformation. Its meaningful colors and symbols weave together to express closure, transition, and the wisdom that arises through acceptance and necessary release itself. It speaks to the courage of ending as both teacher and threshold, offering insight through release, and creating a foundation of clarity, acceptance, and deeper alignment, with the self and the unfolding path revealed through transformation itself. Death, when drawn upright in a tarot reading, embodies the essence of endings, release, and deep transformation. It represents closure, acceptance, and the inner shift that occurs when we allow what has completed its purpose to fall away. This card encourages honesty and courage, suggesting that now is a time to stop clinging to what no longer serves, to let go of outdated identities or situations, and to allow renewal to arise through acceptance rather than resistance. In addition, death signifies rebirth, profound change, and the quiet clarity that comes after necessary endings. It reminds us that transformation is not punishment, and that growth often begins once something has fully ended and space has been created. When this card appears, it often indicates a moment of transition, an invitation to release the past, trust the cycle of change, and embrace renewal, knowing that this ending is preparing you for a new beginning and the next stage of your unfolding path. Death, when drawn in reverse, speaks to resistance to endings, fear of change, or an unwillingness to release what has already run its course. It suggests stagnation, lingering attachments, or cycles that repeat because closure is being avoided, often arising from fear of loss or uncertainty about what comes next. This reversal draws attention to where clinging may be blocking renewal. It highlights moments where endings are delayed, where old identities or situations are held onto, or where change feels threatening rather than transformative, creating heaviness instead of growth. It may point to a time when progress feels stalled or exhausting, when transition is resisted and renewal feels out of reach. Yet beneath this discomfort lies an important message. Transformation cannot be postponed forever, and renewal requires honest release. Reverse death invites courageous self-inquiry, to notice where you are resisting necessary endings, to loosen attachment to the past, and to reclaim release as an act of empowerment. It reminds you that life begins to move again when you allow what has ended to truly complete, making space for clarity, renewal, and forward motion on your path. Journal questions that can help you learn and understand the death card more deeply. What are the main symbols and images on this card, and what do they represent? Analyzing the card's imagery can help you grasp its underlying themes and messages. Look for colors, objects, and figures, and research their traditional meanings in tarot. What is the traditional meaning of this card in a reading? Understanding the card's conventional interpretation can provide a foundation for its use in readings. This includes both upright and reversed meanings if applicable. How does this card relate to the other cards in its suit or major arcana? Identifying the card's position within the larger structure of the tarot deck can offer insight into its role and significance. Compare it to other cards in its suit or sequence. What are some common themes or life situations this card might represent? Reflect on how the card's meaning can be applied to real-life scenarios. This helps in connecting the card to personal experiences and readings. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Find us on Facebook.